There's this graph I look at often and I kind of wonder about. Here in red, you can see the term WoW Classic, so this is interest over time. You can see a massive spike in August of 2019 when WoW Classic was first released. You can see it slowly, well, kind of quickly, kind of goes down, and you can see little bumps for releases like BWL, Zul'Gurub, and AQ, as well as Naxx. And if you go a little bit further, you can actually see where TBC Classic is released, and I've got that in yellow. You can see a little blip bringing the popularity back up. And then all the way, if you squint your eyes really hard, you can see in blue, yeah, that weird blue streak, yeah, that's Season of Mastery. So, of all the polls I ran, I shouldn't be too surprised by this data. You know, the majority of people on YouTube said, no, I'm not going to play Season of Mastery. I saw other YouTubers also run the same poll, and the majority said that they would not be playing Season of Mastery. Lots of people listed things that they wanted changed or improved, the main one being botting, which we now know are probably a bigger part of the player base than real flesh and blood people, since literally thousands are being banned every single day. And yet if I were to run a census scan on a Season of Mastery server, the population currently online at a given time might be under 2,000. Speaking of which, I now have updated server census populations, including EU servers, if you are interested, in the description. Now, the second most popular thing people wanted was dual spec. A nice little quality of life change which gets added in Wrath of the Lich King that would honestly be nice for those who want to experience PvE, PvP, and meme specs occasionally. But we saw that Blizzard will not be doing that either, along with any type of class rebalancing, class changes, etc., because they do not have the resources for that. But even if they did, they claim this would make WoW Classic not WoW Classic anymore. This was actually the number 3 most requested change from the poll, class balance. Buff the meme specs like Prot Paladin, Shadow Priest, Moonkin, etc. And finally, the last big thing people wanted was new content. Myself included, this was kind of my number 1 request. New content like the Scarlet Citadel raid, new zones, and actually, maybe Blizzard could have dug up the old, lost and forgotten Ashara Crater Battleground, which never made it to release. But it was actually made for Classic WoW, or just vanilla WoW. Truly a hidden gem that not many people know about. It's very cool. So, with Blizzard not making any of the changes the community really wanted, what incentive was there to go back and play Season of Mastery, to play Vanilla WoW Classic again? Nostalgia? Well, we actually just did this last August, and there's also TBC out right now, giving access to the old world as well as having the live WoW Classic servers, if you could call them live. Which leads to another major problem that Blizzard has actually created this time around with WoW Classic. Fragmenting the player base. The WoW Classic crowd is big, sure, but when you split it across too many servers, too many instances of the game with both Vanilla WoW and TBC, WoW being out at the same time, and then each server is layered, you can run into these scenarios where you feel like you're on a dead server, and you know what? You might be right. Let's take a look at some Iron Pro data. Some PvP servers aren't actually PvP servers anymore. One faction has completely taken over, and it looks like this is sort of part of the new natural life cycle of PvP servers due to Blizzard not doing something like a enforced 55-45 or even 60-40 faction balance per server. The minority faction gets frustrated with not being able to play the game and transfers off to another server where they will be the majority faction, which, by the way, Blizzard is going to be pocketing money in this process, and that player is now starting to create the same problem on another server. I think that things like botting and server imbalance, these both profit Blizzard, so I'm wondering if that's why they don't want to fix it. But that's a topic for another time. This happens over and over, these transfers, until all servers are only one faction, and it seems like Blizzard is not going to do anything about it, except what's happened recently is, oops, take a free transfer and be happy about it. Let's take a look at some data. This is the server Blamu. It's a PvP server. Slowly over time, you can see that Horde took over and Alliance disappeared, and then the population just starts to decline in general for both factions. The same is for Dreadmist here. but actually it seems like the Alliance held the line a little bit longer here before they eventually die off. Then the same thing happened with the Gandling. You can see here that the Horde slowly squished the Alliance, and now over time the server is in decline. You might ask yourself, like, who wants to play on a PvP server where there is literally no opposing faction? It's like you're playing a single player game. Might as well have rolled on a PvE faction, right? So you can see why players just start to unsubscribe, because it's like game's dead, right? So what does Fate have in store for Season of Mastery? Will it be popular? Well, based off the first graph I showed you, no. No, at least not nearly as popular as WoW Classic was during August of 2019. And, unfortunately, it looks like it's not even going to be as popular as TBC Classic was. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the release of Season of Mastery. The release was fun. There's always a lot of people who hop on for a good, fresh server. But, without any acknowledgement from Blizzard to the life cycle of servers slowly going one faction and then dying off, I think we can expect the same thing to happen with Season of Mastery, however, a bit quicker this time around, because we have less of a player base in the first place. We have less servers, which means that, of course, it's a smaller portion of people, and it's going to die quicker. And with all of this being said, this is also Blizzard's first of many seasonal Classic WoW realms, and we can probably expect each following season to be less and less popular unless Blizzard starts addressing some of the things that the community actually wants. Botting, of course, being number one, but there's also many things we previously talked about that would really help prevent some of the problems that cause people to unsubscribe. Now, I am totally looking forward to Wrath of the Lich King Classic. This is kind of in another realm. But with TBC's slow phase cycles, if a better game comes along, well, let's just say I'm not holding my breath for Activision. That's for sure. What do you think about all this? What's the solution? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, during this episode, I talked a little bit about calling Blizzard Activision, because I think that's sort of what we should be calling them from now on. It's really Activision at this point, and I think this is a really important thing I wanna get across. All of the people who made the games we love have kind of left Blizzard. They kind of mention this in saying that they're strapped for resources. I think what they're talking about is talent. All the talent has kind of left and moved on to bigger and better things. So I want to let you know, if you're interested in playing games created by people who made the games that you love and probably still play to this day, if you're like me, you are a huge fan of Warcraft, of StarCraft, Diablo, all these great games that you grew up playing. Well, I recently kind of started digging into where all of the people who made our favorite games went. And I am happy to let you know that there's a couple different studios making games. One of them is called Moonshot Games, and another is called Secret Door. These are two studios under the umbrella organization Dreamhaven, which is actually owned by Mike Morhaime, the founder of Blizzard. So this is an awesome opportunity for games to be made again. So if, like, good games. So if, keep your eyes peeled on that. I'm going to be looking very closely on what they create. I also want to bring to your attention Frost Giant Studios. If you're a big fan of StarCraft and Warcraft 3, so like the RTS component, I'm super excited about Frost Giant, keeping my eye on them. There's so much exciting conversation going on about what they're creating. And then finally, if you're a fan of Hearthstone, which I also love that game, Ben Brode was working on Hearthstone, left Blizzard, and he is now working at a company called Second Dinner. So these are some companies to look for. If you're not a fan of what's going on with Activision, and you love Blizzard games, then keep an eye out for these companies and what games might come out from them in the future. Take care.